Well, I was born in Poland in a small town named Brzostek. The town is located in the southeastern part of Poland, and I would say the largest city, the closest one would be Tarnów, and the next to it is Krakow. So that's basically the area from which I come from. Now, my father was a farmer. His family was farmers. And of course, as a young boy, I mean, not a boy, grown up already, his father gave him part of the land, quite a bit of it, and that's how he continued to be a farmer. At that time, right before the war, I didn't realize the size of it, anything. But after the war, when I survived and we came back to Brzostek, it was a big farm. A lot of land, I know, big house. As a matter of fact, two houses, one next to each other. The other one was much smaller. They had horses, cows, chickens, whatever. Basically, that's what I think it was. Oh, I remember playing with horses. I like very much horses. So I was kind of between the horses, playing with them, staying next to them, and those are the things that I do remember. I remember, if I can say remember, I would say it's from the time, which was 1939, when the Germans invaded Poland. And what stays in my mind is to see trucks with the German soldiers on top of them, passing by quite a bit of trucks which passed, then tanks when they went through. I seen first time the trucks and the tanks. I saw planes flying over. And it was funny because I went to Mom and started asking her, Mom, take a look at those big, big birds they flying. What kind of birds are those? And I remember Mom was looking and said, no, those are not birds. Those are airplanes. What's an airplane? I didn't have the slightest idea. So this is the memory right before, beginning of the war in Poland. Then I do remember many times my father taking me to besides the land that they had around this area there, but he had a big garden. So he used to take me to the garden because he used to play around it. Right during this beginning of the war, I even honestly saying, I remember very little bit now already, or even soon after the war, about my father. Though I spent time with him, but not as much, I would assume, as with Mother, because he used to be always busy with the farm, and besides being head of the Jewish community in town, so he was busy. Well, right in the beginning, when they invaded Poland, we didn't see him for a while. We didn't see any Germans anymore there. The one incident that I do remember with the Germans, it was that somehow my father went, and there was a little river between the end of our farm, and there was a little road, and he had fields out there. So one time I remember he went to work there and he took his two horses with a wagon. He went there, and then I don't know how this happened, that I took those two horses with the wagon and tried to go back to the house. But to go back to the house from the side road, I had to go on the main road and then back to our property, our house. And when I was with those two horses going pretty fast, and I noticed that the Germans on the motorcycles were coming, and I didn't know what to do with the horses. I didn't have experience to stop them or anything. So I was going so fast that they had to somehow go on the side, almost fell in a hole there. And I just keep going, went into the driveway, left the horses and ran to my mom. In this moment, they came and they tried to catch me, but my mom was smart enough, I can see now, that she took me, she pulled her leg out, she put me in and started banging, hitting me in the back on my tussie and beating me up and screaming, "What did you do? You know you almost harmed two soldiers. You're not supposed to do that. And then they kind of calm down and they say, "You have to teach him a lesson, not to do anymore." And they walked away. So this is one thing that sits in my mind, but this was already the Gestapo. They came in and they asked Mom for the eggs. If she has have a farm, you have eggs. She says, "I don't have." "What do you mean you don't have?" So she says, "Come in. I take you to inside, take a look in my house. I am out of eggs. I don't have any eggs." So I remember me, and by the way, there was a Polish family that worked for my father. The part of the family worked. And there was one kid which was older than me. And I say to him, "You know," his name was Gustek. I say, "Gustek, you know, I think the farmer over there has the eggs. Why don't we take the soldiers and show them where it is?" So they look and they say, "You know where we can get eggs?" I say, yeah, come on. So we took him out from the house, me and him. We went to this one of the families, and "Kid, what do I understand?" I said, "I know you have eggs. They need eggs. Can you please give them eggs?" They were mad at me that they had to give away eggs, but they took, I don't know, 2, 3, or 4 eggs. They were happy, got the eggs, and they left, and we were proud that we helped them to get the eggs.
Clever.
But just looking now back into the times, I couldn't see anything that would make them aware or suspicious or scared of something that would happen. Because nobody, I imagine now looking at the situation, nobody foreseed or even, could I say, dreamed that something like that could happen. Yeah, maybe they need some people to work, because I know that the Gestapo used to come to our house and asking my father, "Tomorrow we want to see about 20 or 30 young Jewish men to work we need." Bring them over, we pick whatever we need. So they came, the trucks came, and they took him to work. Okay, they take him to work. They need something to do. Whatever they do, they need people to work. So, but, okay. In the evening, they came back. Then 2 days, 3 days later, again the same thing. They start when they were coming a little bit later on in process of taking and bringing, that all of a sudden they became rough with the people staying in line. They stood in line always the same, waiting, calling. But then they start beating them up, hitting them. Not with a hand even. They took the rifle with the side and hit them and hit them. And I know as a child, I saw that. And I just wondered, why do they do it? The guy is just standing there, he's beating, couldn't understand why you beating him up. But you don't ask questions or anything because you're scared too. So it was like something that it's not right, but still, okay, so he beats them up. Maybe he did something that I didn't see. Well, I remember the part when they came and they told us that we have to move out from the house. And they told them, Bo, find yourself a room, take only personal belongings, and we're taking over the whole property, house, everything out. So this is one thing that I do remember, moving out. And I do remember that they used to call him to the police station if they needed. But he used to come until the point that one evening or one day he did not show up back, didn't come back. We were told by Prewar's son-in-law. He told us the story. He came once to our forest and we were hiding. Occasionally he came and brought us a loaf of bread. Once he came and Mom looks at his shoes and she's asking him, where did you get those shoes? He didn't want to tell her, going back and forth, but finally he says, if you insisting so much, I tell you, but don't make me a scenery. Soon as you left, Germans came to town and they asked for young Polish men for work they needed. They took 2 trucks of young guys, one of them I was, and they took us to a big forest. There was a side around it, a certain place, and they told us to dig a big hole. We worked and worked after they were satisfied the way it is, took us back to town, and then a day or so later they came back to work. We see we're going back to the same location. When they brought us to the place, we look and this big hole is full with dead people. They tell us to cover the hole, make sure that everything looks like nothing happened to this place. So we worked and we worked and we worked. We finished. After we were done, they told us, do you see all those clothings here on the side? Go and take one item for the work that you do. So he says, I was walking to pick something. I came across shoes. I look and I see the pair of shoes. I recognize it. So for the memory of whoever it was, I took the shoes. So, me tell you, now you know that your husband was killed and he is in this big mass grave in this forest. That's how we found out what happened to my father.